Our goal with our clients is to create the type of companies that Warren Buffett would want to buy. And when we do that, we last 4 decades. And again, we've seen the whole thing from everything manual to robotics and everything in between. We've experienced it all. We're experts in it all. And hopefully we can share a lot of good information today.
When you're going through these, different areas of, especially in terms of hypergrowth, are there any kind of like operational blind spots that you guys see in terms of like distributors and manufacturers that, are most common in these areas?
Yeah, a company, the leadership may not tell you when you're doing this stuff.
And there's so many things that AI has to work on. Like, I'm pretty sure in the next 5 or 6 years, when you're looking at, things, it's going to be completely different. But as of now, what is thing in the present that you think that leaders often overlook? Apart from space, apart from, looking at their inventories, what is that one thing that they're overlooking that is actually kind of like hindering their future growth in this, area?
Yeah. Well, one thing, there's no one size fits all.
What is that one piece of, advice or guidance that you give to, business owners, companies, whether they're small or large, in helping them staying ahead of supply chain disruptions, then also to kind of, outperform the competitors that are in the market and, achieve that operational excellence? What is that one piece of advice?
Well, first of all, we already talked about basically how we're going to get them to outperform. I see too many companies.
Welcome everyone to the VSERVE Ebusiness Solutions Podcast on supply chain management, where we invite some of the industry's great experts to share their experiences, gather some helpful tips along the way. I'm your host for today, Cynthia. And today we are diving deep into the critical processes that separate, industry leaders from the rest, from operational excellence in distribution, manufacturing. Our guest today is an expert. He has dedicated about almost 4 decades to transforming these centers from more of the coast hubs into powerful profit drivers. So I'm honored to be joined by Roy Strauss. He's the president of the Strauss Consulting Group, LLC. His mission that I know is to strategically align mid-market companies from growth and resilience. His team uses unique methodologies like systematic product mix. There is inventory study, eliminating inventory bloat, freeing up valuable space. I am excited to start this conversation about everything in terms of increasing customer service levels. So Roy, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoy doing these podcasts, and we're going to have some fun today.
Looking forward to it.
So as Cynthia said, I'm president of the Strauss Consulting Group. We're supply chain experts. My handle is Supply Chain Roy. And as she mentioned, we've been doing this for 40 years. And one of the reasons we've been doing it this long is our goal with our clients is to create the type of companies that Warren Buffett would want to buy. So we work with our clients to have the correct product and the right amount of it, offering the best service at the lowest possible operational cost. And if you can achieve that, my clients will beat the competition every time and exponentially increase their cash flow. And when we do that, we last 4 decades. And again, we've seen the whole thing from everything manual to robotics and everything in between. We've experienced it all. We're experts in it all. And hopefully we can share a lot of good information today.
That is perfect, Roy. That was the perfect introduction. And obviously 4 decades of experience and knowledge. I would love to hear how did you get inspired to join this, distribution manufacturer? Because not everybody starts saying that I want to be a distributor. I want to be in the manufacturing operation centers. So what inspired you? Where did it all start?
Okay, so I had a situation where I was looking for my first job and there was a recession and it was hard to come by jobs. job, and I interviewed with this company, and they said, oh, you're a good numbers guy. We're going to put you in charge of inventory control. And that was my first job, okay? And when I started the job, I was doing inventory control, and they quickly added purchasing when they saw my capabilities. And you've been in the warehouse or the manufacturing center where you go into the building and you see the three layers in the building, the beam, the carton, and the dust. We want to make the dust go away. That's the product that never should have come into the building to begin with. Is there way too long or way too much purchasing? Okay. Now, to take the next step for Cynthia's introduction, what inspired me, okay? So I was there for 2 months, and luckily, this company I started working with was about to experience hypergrowth for the next 10 years, which if you haven't lived it, you can't plan, manage, operate within it. You have to have the experience. You can't imagine playing a piano and go play a piano. You can't imagine hypergrowth. You have to live it. So I was there for 2 months, and I hired a consultant to help us expand our operations, warehouse, etc. And I'm the new kid working with a Harvard MBA. I don't like anything he's doing. So I go into the president and I said to him, I'm not happy with what's happening here. You hired me to take good care of the company. He said to me, 2 months ago, you didn't know what a pallet was. Go learn from the expert. Well, Roy does not learn from experts. Roy takes note. And after a few weeks, I brought my notes to him on a Friday afternoon. I said, take a look over the weekend. Maybe we have something to talk about. And on Monday morning, he calls a meeting of all the participants in the project and says, I don't know what's going on here, but Roy knows more than the consultant. He's running the project. And not me, everybody, when you discover this is what I was born to do. You embrace it, you run to it, you enjoy it, and this is what I was born to do. So to take it one step further, because we're going to leap to the next topic of discussion. So now it's 3 years. We put together a 5-year growth plan with that consultant, and now it's 3 years later, and the president comes into me and said, now I'm an experienced guy. It's 3 years, right? I'm the old pro. And the president says to me, Roy, you screwed up. How did I screw up? Well, we had a 5-year growth plan, and we outgrew it in 3 years. I mentioned hypergrowth, right? So I said to him, it's your fault. You sell too much. So that's my sense of humor. So anyway, I said, this is what I need. Okay. And what are we doing? Distribution, manufacturing has to be, no matter what the project, no matter what the company, how much space, with what equipment, with which staffing, with which processes and systems, and with which IT backup and software. You're on a business, those 5 have to work if you're going to be a success. So I asked them to provide to me, which wasn't privy to me at the time, certain numbers about where they expect the growth to go, et cetera, and I created a model. Okay, each year, the next 5 years, based on the number he gave me, how much space we would need at what cost, with what equipment it would cost, et cetera, for 5 of them. And what this allowed me to do is come back to him and say, well, this is what we need to do the project. And he said to me, we can't afford it. I said, well, you got to scale back the project, because if you try and attempt it without the proper financing, we're going to fail. And this evolved into what I created back in the 70s, which is called an operational growth plan. The operational growth plan is, again, part of supply chain. Marketing is sell it. We got to make sure we can deliver it, and deliver it on time, and deliver it perfectly. So what we do is, again, for the 5 of them each year, how much space do I need at what cost, equipment, staffing, et cetera. And let's say, based on projected volume growth and cost, we don't need automation until 3 years out. What I also created was a spreadsheet where we're measuring growth versus projected growth. So what happens is, I see that we're growing faster than the projection. So I started the acquisition process for the automation, which was 3 years out, 2 years out. So it would be in place when we hit the number. Instead of we hit the number and we don't have the equipment, then we can't deliver to our clients, customers back then. Okay. And what that's evolved into, whenever I meet with a client, first thing I talk about is growth. How are you going to get there if you don't know where you're going to go, when, how you're going to get there? And so I say, well, what's your growth plan? And I'll hear anything from, I don't have a crystal ball, or we always get it wrong, or where do you get it from? Marketing? How often is marketing right? Half the time. So you tell me what leader of a company wants to do something based on half the time being wrong. Okay. So now my original model changed from, because then I was in the company controlling things. What's your projected growth? What if it's optimistic? What if you do much better? What if it's pessimistic, it's starting to slow down? And now either exception report, it changed from what it should be, or go check it every month, however you want to do it. Again, the model I said before, you're starting to grow fast. You start the acquisition process for what's down the road based on the new volume. My clients are the first companies to stop spending money going into recession because they see it going south compared to what it should be, and they cut the spending back. So that's been the norm for every company I work with. Okay, and they are now in control. They can plan it, they can participate in it, they can modify it, and they can manage it, and they can plan. So when you come to my company and say, "Tell me about growth," oh, we have it under control. So, and that all started from that, starting with the original company and him telling me, gee, we outgrow it. Okay.
That's
Maybe I should give
amazing.
you
So when you talk about hyper growth versus regular,
normal growth for a company may be 5%, 10%, maybe 15% a year. We were doubling every year. That's hyper growth. And again, I was lucky enough to experience it.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So when you're going through these, different areas of, especially in terms of hypergrowth, are there any kind of like operational blind spots that you guys see in terms of like distributors and manufacturers that, are most common in these areas?
Yeah, a company, the leadership may not tell you when you're doing this stuff that they're planning to add a new product line or ready to delete a product line, and the planning must be adjusted accordingly. Okay. And also when you talk about growth, there's organic growth. They just keep on selling more of the same stuff. What is growth by addition? I keep on adding new product. Well, if I'm having organic growth, they have to make larger locations or picking and reserve locations if it's a warehouse for the same product. If it's by adding, I have to make more pick locations and not more reserve locations. So again, it's the type of growth also that determines where a company's going and how you plan and operate within it.
Wow. Okay. So how do you help companies? Like obviously in the consulting years that you have seen so much, I'm pretty sure you must have so many examples in your experience how to continuously align, I guess, inventory, space, staffing, especially with the customer requirements that are shifting so rapidly over the four decades that you've worked. How do you manage that in your experience?
Great question. Again, I think I mentioned, or I'm mentioning the 3 layers in the warehouse, the beam, the carton, and the dust. Again, the dust has to go away. So I guess the best way to approach it is tell you about a recent project where the client called me in. They had 200,000 square feet, and they were ready to add 40,000 square feet. And my inventory study, when I worked for the first company, I was in charge of inventory, and I made the dust go away. Okay.
Yeah.
Our inventory goal was 3 months of inventory, but the sales guys went to Las Vegas at a show and bought 10 times the amount of stuff to the show price. Okay. I'm purchasing, and the company says you got 18 pallets, make it 20 pallets, so you get truckload rate. You're adding 2 pallets worth of stuff. Well, the local guy comes in, hey, we have this stuff on sale, and because of all this, hey, we're going to make more money by selling it, the whole inventory plan goes right out the window and you create all the dust. Okay. So what we're trying to do is, first of all, define A, B, and C movers. And if you have to buy more stuff to get a truckload rate, only buy A movers. They'll be gone in 2 more months instead of 2 months, instead of C movers, which are going to lay there until the end of time. Okay. We also work with our clients to define not only A, B, and C movers, but A, B, and C customers. Okay. We don't want to carry C movers. They just fill it. If a company's giving you one order once a year, you can't make money. The only C movers we keep are for A customers, because you have to make them happy. So a recent example, like I said, the company was about to add 40,000 onto the 200,000 square feet. And I did my inventory study, excess stuff you shouldn't have, etc., ABC. And it was like a couple of hours to do it. It just creates spreadsheets that measure everything. And by the way, when we get done, we give them spreadsheets to make sure they stay on plan. So the president of the company could say, hey, why is this stuff 4 months worth of inventory? It's showing too much in the spreadsheet. It's inception of what, and you could go to purchasing and go, what are you guys doing down there? So you can control it. And what happens is instead of adding 40,000 square feet, and when I say remove it, I don't mean throw it in the garbage. Put it on sale, make a donation.
Yep.
I'm really good at helping clients getting suppliers to take returns. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it went, instead of plus 40,000, went minus 40,000. So instead of
Yeah.
200,000, he was down to 160,000, which meant he could stay there for another 3, 4, 5 years without spending a penny on moving. And
Mm-hmm.
now, and again, initially, the way he had it laid out was just poorly. To get orders out, he had to cover 200,000 square feet. Well, first of all, if we did nothing else regarding efficiency, product placement systems or anything, now he's doing it at 160,000. So he's going through faster. If he's going through faster, your customer service is going up. If you're going through faster, you need less people. If you need less people, you need less equipment. I don't need a forklift if the guy's not there. If it's a shorter building, I don't need as much conveyor. Okay. So now by doing the inventory study, what we've done is we've increased service levels by going through faster. We reduced costs for space, because we reduced it, reduced costs for staff, and reduced costs for equipment. So what have we done? We've done the inventory study, so we have the right product in the right amount. We've exponentially increased customer service, and that's before we've changed layouts or product placement. When I get done, it's like 4 times as fast. And we reduced costs and everything. So we created Warren Buffett's model. And what happens to the client is they continually beat the competition, and they exponentially increase cash flow. And that's and again, they have, just like the growth, they have exception reports when things are going off to correct everything. Okay. And really, when you talk about marketing and sales, it's not that supply chain, it's not that marketing and sales is in charge. Marketing and sales makes it happen. Supply chain determines how much you keep from what you sell. So why sell a bunch of it if either you can't deliver it on time, you're going to disappoint your customers, or you can't sell, you can sell all you want, you're not going to make any money because you're running around the building like trying to find everything, whatever. So those two, and again, those two simple things. And again, we're complete supply chain consultants. We design layouts, we do software specifications, we design software, equipment acquisition, any and everything on the manufacturing, same thing, everything on the other side of the building. But before we start, we do it in the context of the proper growth plan with the right amount of inventory. Okay. Another key thing is when people, companies are going into a new building. Okay. If you have a growth plan, and you know what product has to go in the building, and ABC mover and product groups and everything, you can move into the new building without a proper plan, and the building is screwed up and at least less efficient forever. For instance, if I don't come in, they take everything and make it as close as possible to the shipping doors. Okay, and then they get a new product line, and the space is in the back, and they put it in the back, right in the middle. And they take this wide open space and block up the whole middle, and now we have little compartments all over the place. When I create a growth plan, with the client, it's not from the dock; it's side to side. So I'm leaving room for A movers and new product lines still to get near the truck door. And if we're adding space, it's a corner somewhere, and you still have as much growth. I call it flex space. Okay, you don't know how you're going to grow. You need as much space as possible to grow into, and you don't want to stumble by making smaller groups of space. You always want it as large as possible. So when I did a $2.5 billion pharmaceutical distributor, the amount of space we had, it was a 400,000 square foot building, and they allowed 40,000 square feet for growth. It was right in the center, so all 12 departments had access to growth, depending on which grew more and which grew less. No one was boxed into a corner where they ran out of space. And you mentioned it earlier. You mentioned mid-sized companies. We've done Fortune 500, about 25%, mid-sized 25%, and 50% the small mom and pops that need us the most right now, because they may not be able to afford robots or AI or automation or the rest of that stuff. So we cover, and you name it, over the past 40 years, name the industry, okay? In one given month, I was doing a Sony distributor, wholesale florist, steel pipe, and mail order baseball cards. So if you name the industry, we've been there. And again, the same principles apply. It's just that what subjective things, like we do electronic, you can't drop a cart in the electronics breaks. You're doing
Yeah.
hardware, drop the carton all you want. You're not going to break a bolt. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's pretty much the same formulas for everybody. And also we implement, we'll implement it with three possibilities. We give the client the plan, we implement it with them, or we do turnkey and we do the whole project. And
Mhm.
you could say, gee, I talked about, creating growth plans and creating inventory plans, and you have to have experience doing it. Yes, I'm giving some free consulting. This is how we do things. But at the same
Mhm.
time, if you try and do it yourself the first time without the experience, the chances are you're not going to get the results you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And how has technology helped you? Like I know now with automation and there's so many like
Right.
things like WMS and AI.
Right.
How are these, leaders who are old school kind of adopting these technologies, and have you kind of, help them kind of transition in those areas as well?
Okay, so when I started with that first company, there was no software. So I worked with our computer consultants and I designed a WMS software system. Okay,
Yep.
again, I'm old enough to be a pioneer. Okay.
Yep.
And so I had to create what didn't exist as we went from decade to decade. Okay. And again, we'll do WMS, design WMS, we'll modify our client's existing WMS. And the most important thing, the acquisition process. If you don't know what you're doing, you buy the wrong software, how are you going to run your company? One company hired me and they bought the wrong software, and I told them the software is not going to work, so he fired me. The software will never work. The only time I
Yeah.
got fired in 40 years, he fired me because I said that software is not going to work and he just spent money on. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
that's the first time I've also said on a podcast I've been fired.
Yep.
Okay, so now to talk about the software. What we have now is fantastic. Okay, more than we
Yeah.
ever could have imagined with AI, with robotics, whatever. And for
Yep.
the larger companies that can afford it, have fun. For the
Yeah.
smaller companies that can't afford it, you
Yeah.
have to integrate it as it gets closer. The cost comes down and your volume goes up, and you have to know when and how to integrate it. And of course, that's part of our service. Now,
Mhm.
again, also, it's not magic. What AI provides you with is the information and some insight on how to do it. AI took some of the projects I did and asked AI to design the project, and they totally screwed it up. They're too formulaic, and they can't take uniqueness of each industry and modify it specifically to make that work the best. Okay, so maybe I could give you another quick example. And again, I don't want to name companies because they have an obligation to clients for secrecy. But
Yeah.
major company, everybody has their product in the house. You know the name like the back of your hand, and they're moving into a brand new 400,000 square foot building. And the reason they're hiring me is they have all the plans, and their vice president of operations went on maternity leave. So they have everything. They hire me to come in and watch the store, just make sure nothing goes wrong. Don't change anything.
Yeah.
And there were 12 different departments. One of them has security cage because they have cameras and computers and stuff. So I always start a project when I visit on day one. That's important, okay? So I walk into the security cage and I see pallets in the aisle. And I said, why are the pallets in the aisle? You didn't put them away yet? He said, no, we don't have enough room. Okay.
Yeah.
So they said, watch the store. Instantaneously, the whole thing went out the window. It's not how much space I have times growth. It's how much space I need times growth. And they added
Yeah.
50,000 square feet onto the size of the building.
Yeah.
Was AI
Wow.
going to do that? It couldn't do it when I tried it. Okay. And
Yeah.
so now what's happening? We need 50,000 square feet to make it real fast. I created two 25,000 square foot mezzanines. So it would affect the original plans. And they were equipment based, so they could move them later, whatever. And also, I saw AI doesn't know, gee, you got a 36-foot high building. Zoning in that town is for 42 feet. You're imported. We added
Yep.
another pallet height to the whole building, which is the cheapest space. And it was
Yeah.
safety stock without affecting what was below it. And that allowed them to add another level onto the offices to 3 instead of 2. And the last thing I'm going to say about it, because I could talk about it a lot more, and they based they want to get as much stuff in the building as they could. And whatever company it is, whatever building, you're always balancing space versus speed. Okay.
Yep.
I could have 12-foot aisles and go flying down there like a rocket, but I'm not using the space. I could have 6-foot aisles and get all the stuff in, but nobody could pass each other. And
Yep.
they were doing it based on 6 foot aisles. So that means if someone's putting stuff away, they can't pick an order because the aisles are clogged. So I changed
Yep.
it to 10 foot aisles, narrow aisles instead of very narrow one. And I could keep on going on about how I saved the money and saved them from themselves. But this is what happens when you ask a Roy to watch the store. And AI could not have picked up 90% of that. But what AI is
Exactly.
great for is ask questions and provide the information so we can make decisions and plan better using it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again,
It's
with
kind of
like I
what you
said,
feed it. Yeah.
yeah. Well, not only that, it's like we know it. I ask a question, I get all the answers, and sometimes it's great. They ask me a question. Did you consider this? And I didn't. So
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
But you can't. It's like anything else. It's who's operating it, not it's going to do it for you. Design me a warehouse. I won't want to go in that one.
Yeah. No, I completely understand. And there's so many things that AI has to work on. Like, I'm pretty sure in the next 5 or 6 years, when you're looking at, things, it's going to be completely different. But as of now, what is thing in the present that you think that leaders often overlook? Apart from space, apart from, looking at their inventories, what is that one thing that they're overlooking that is actually kind of like hindering their future growth in this area?
Yeah. Well, one thing, there's no one size fits all. So you hear companies going to use AI or they're going to automation, and
Hmm.
everything is about ROI. Okay. You
Yeah.
spend money to get this stuff when you're no longer capable of achieving the volumes of shipping needed to satisfy the customer.
Uh-huh.
So, and they just go AI or robotics, whatever. And really, each section of the building, each department should be looked at separately, determine AI, maybe not now, maybe 2 years from now, robotics 2 years from now. It's always about ROI and when do I spend the money, and when do I get my money's worth when I spend the money. And a lot of companies blanket also. A lot of the companies read about it and they try and do it, and they don't have any experts that experienced it. Okay, I experienced
Yeah.
hypergrowth. AI can't experience hypergrowth except for itself.
Yeah. That's true. That's so true. I'm enjoying this conversation, Roy. I know we're like nearing our time and I don't want this to end, but I'll ask you one more question because I really want to know this. What is that one piece of, I guess, advice or guidance that you give to business owners, companies, whether they're small or large, in helping them staying ahead of supply chain disruptions, then also to kind of outperform the competitors that are in the market and achieve that operational excellence? What is that one piece of advice?
Well, first of all, we already talked about basically how we're going to get them to outperform. I see too many companies. I'll give it one of the major companies. Everybody owns their stock. Everybody knows them, where they manage the company's vertical silos, the finance silo, the operations silo, the sales silo, and they don't
Hmm.
communicate. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, I made a sales call to them, and they didn't know which product was in which building, and marketing didn't think it was worth spending the money on operations.
Hmm.
Okay, so it has to come from the leader, and the leader should be transparency, get the teams working together, make sure
Hmm.
finance, make sure sales knows that operations is essential in supply chain, and you can't just sell it without delivering it, etc. Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure finance doesn't go, we can't afford that, without asking questions about what the ROI is. Because,
Hmm.
hey, the stockholders are watching. I can't spend $500,000. Maybe you spend $500,000. You make $10 million next year, but they don't ask
Uh-huh.
those questions. So it's up to
Yep.
the leader to get the best they can from each department, get them to work together, and make sure there's total transparency. So one department doesn't get it in the back of the neck because they don't know what the other department is doing. And the main thing
Yep.
is honesty. You broke it, tell me. You don't tell me, I can't sell it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Roy. It's been such a pleasure to have you today and kind of learn about all about, success. It's not about like cutting costs, ROI. It's all about how you optimize your process, right? So, yeah, I mean, any last thoughts that you want to add before we
Yeah.
end the podcast? Because I had so many more things to ask you.
Yeah.
But I think we covered most of it.
Yeah, one thing for the presidents of the company, okay? I call them the silent assassins, okay? So I walk and I meet with the president and I leave, and he says, I got this proposal from Roy. And he goes to the finance guy and he says, we can't afford it. The operations guy goes, no, we got it under control. And marketing goes, oh, we got this great plan. Okay. And they kill it. This is his team. Okay. His finance guy doesn't know that we're driving down the cost of space, staff, and equipment. If I didn't mention before, best practice. We go into a company, there's 10 different ways to do it. Everyone's doing it the best way. That means the other 90% are doing it the right way now. Drives costs down tremendously. So what I request from the presidents, because I learned from the silent assassins, the key players be at the initial meeting. So the finance guy could learn about ROI, not with spending money. The operations guy can say, hey, we're gonna work on best practice and lower costs by doing less space, et cetera, et cetera. The marketing guy go, hey, we have the best service and best product, the lowest cost. You want to buy from us? And each one hears what their nugget is, and then they want to hire me as I'm walking out the door, not kill me from behind when they didn't know what I can do. And that's really important for the presidents of the company to make sure your team is capable of helping you determine what the real value is, because they're the feet on the ground. And when I'm with them, they can understand how we're going to make the feet move faster.
Because they're the actual decision makers. It's up to them, right? So completely agree with you, Roy. Thank you so much for your time. It was great having you today and learning so much about just little things that kind of make up the whole operational excellence in supply chain, especially. And I hope you had the same amount of fun as we did today. And thank you, and happy holidays.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, thank you. I love talking about this stuff, and it's been enjoyable conversing with you. One more thing. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. There's so much more information that I could share with you. Like I said to you before, we could do this for at least 4 hours. So I would recommend if you call me, first visit is free. We give you an assessment of what we see, whatever, and you can learn what's going on in your company. No obligation of any kind. So the easiest way is if you go on my website, www.S as in Strauss, C as in consulting, G is for group, and then the number 4 and the letter U, www.scg4u. You can learn all sorts of fantastic information I didn't talk about. And if you want to communicate with me, obviously you can call me or email me or text.
Perfect. And we're going to add all that information in the video as well. So please reach out to Roy if you have any questions. And again, Roy, thank you so much for your time today. And I hope you have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. And happy holidays, everybody.
You too.